Hi guys, this is Stan. Welcome back to my channel. As a reader, when we are clueless about what books are we going to read next, we may probably search our answers on social media like Booktok or Booktube, maybe from the book recommendation, TBR or wrap-up. So in today's video, I would like to see and compare all those books that were hyped on Booktok and then those that were recommended on Booktube. And this will be narrowed down to the genre sci-fi and fantasy. Disclaimer first, I don't have a Booktok account, so what I did is to search Booktok hyped fantasy books on Google, and can you believe it? There is a genre called Booktok fantasy on Goodreads, and since when it is a genre? I guess what I will do in this video is to very briefly go through all these books recommended by these two platforms, share my thoughts for those that I have already finished, and see is there gonna be any new ones added to my TBR. Maybe we can also find out the difference between these books being hyped on these two platforms as well. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to my channel Fantasy so you won't miss anything exciting from me. You can also support this channel by becoming my Patreon, visiting my Ko-fi, follow my Instagram for more daily updates. Why not also share, have you ever been influenced by these social medias? Have you picked up a book just because they are hyped on Booktok or Booktube? You can share all your thoughts down in the comment below. I think it would be better to start with the Booktube recommendation because I am part of this community and I am more familiar with all these fantasy books that are recommended here. First of all, an all-time classic recommended by Booktok, we have The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I guess I don't really have to explain much here, a founding stone for fantasy, this genre. I think it is a series everyone should check out, especially if you are into fantasy, to see how this inspired future authors and how this shaped epic fantasy, this genre. Many of the series that I have already finished, let's say Wheel of Time up there as well as The Bound and the Broken, you can see the shadow of The Lord of the Rings in them and even see how modern authors revise this classic trope. So if you are into fantasy, I guess you have already checked this series out. If not, do so now because it is such a fun and great fantasy series. After this classic one, the rest of the books recommended by Booktube is on the modern side, should we say. I think the easiest one to start with, and also the one that you probably have heard a lot, is Brandon Sanderson and his Cosmere. The two series recommended a lot on Booktube is definitely either Mistborn or Stormlight Archive. If you haven't heard about this before, basically Brandon Sanderson has set up his own universe where majority of his series set in. They are like happening in different planets, but they got some sort of connection between each of them. In short, The Final Empire or Mistborn is a trilogy that is about a high story, which features very cool magic system and action as well as political intrigue. You can burn a metal and that metal will give you a superhuman ability. If you can burn more than one, you are a Mistborn basically. It is possibly the best starting point to check out adult fantasy, this genre, because the writing is really accessible, the plot is intriguing, the magic system and the actions are also really cool. The other series, the Stormlight Archive, I would say it is a more advanced adult fantasy in terms of more details, more world building, as well as more characters coming from different powers. There is also some connections from other series in the Cosmere to Stormlight Archive. So if you want to check out adult fantasy or like Brandon Sanderson, this new author, I wouldn't necessarily recommend you to start with Stormlight Archive. Better start with others first, let's say Mistborn, Final Empire, or like his secret projects. They are so much fun. Next, we have another very popular classic epic fantasy, and it is The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. Oh boy, where should I start with this one? The wheel weaves as the wheel wheels. So basically, The Wheel of Time is a 15-book classic epic fantasy series But very unfortunately, Robert Jordan died while writing the series in 2007, so the rest is completed by Brandon Sanderson. This series is known for expansive and immersive world-building, long character arcs, extensive foreshadowing, and rich details basically. To condense and summarize these 15 books into 1 or 2 sentences, you can say it is just like a good old battle between the Chosen One and the Evil Force, but with other very interesting character arcs. I am not too sure about now. I mean, it is still a very popular classic epic fantasy series, but the peak when Booktube suggested a lot to recommend people to read this series is probably during the pandemic. It is still a very popular, very relevant classic epic fantasy series, but the noise of it, or like how many people want to start this series now, I think it's not as much as before, and I think most of the people would like roast about the Prime TV series rather than the book series. I would also say this is not a beginner-friendly recommendation. It is 15 book long and it is such a commitment. There are just so many details you would want to keep in mind with, and not every single one of the book is well written, especially the middle chunk I am going through right now. I am currently reading the 10th book, which is called Crossroads of Twilight, and I am struggling. They are quite slow, they are quite dragging, they are quite sloggy in terms of the pacing and the writing. But still, I think the reward to complete this series is greater than the hard time I am going through. So if you are into classic epic fantasy, you don't want to miss this one out. The next popular fantasy series on Booktube is the one that I do like, and it is the Green Bone Saga by Fonda Lee. It is actually quite different from all those series I have just mentioned because this one is an Asian-inspired urban fantasy. In this series, you can see the influence of the East Asian gangster culture too. It is a dark and gritty family crime saga, which we're gonna follow the clan wars between 2 rivalries. Like the titles in this trilogy, Jade City, Jade War, Jade Legacy, Jade itself in this world can give you superhuman ability if you underwent some proper training, and Jade also is like a center of not just local but global conflict. What I do like about this whole trilogy is the character growth. Everyone in this no-peak clan has just gone through a lot in this like family crime saga, and there will be a lot of laughs and tears. It is possibly the best fantasy series that I have ever read in terms of the character arc. So I would highly recommend this series to you guys if you are into character growth in a fantasy series. The last series I want to include here is another very popular one on Booktube, but I didn't enjoy, and it is The Gentleman Bastard by Scott Lynch. Like the title of the first book, The Lies of Locke Lamora, it is about Locke Lamora and his gentleman bastard, which is like a group of skilled con artists. They use their diverse training and background to con fortune out of the ruling social elites. I DNF'd this series just after I finished the first book. I think the synopsis of this book is quite interesting to follow a group of con artists, which is something that the last couple of fantasy series didn't do. But I just didn't get the writing of Scott Lynch. I didn't like the way he described a new scene. The arrangement of the flashbacks do affect the pacing and low-key make the plot or the twist predictable. I love looking for book recommendation on Booktube. Most of them is fine, and I think it is a good way to check out author that I am not familiar with. But this one, The Gentleman Bastard, is possibly the only one that I checked out because of Booktube and ended up didn't enjoy it at all. I know that there are plenty more fantasy series that are recommended on Booktube, but because of time limit, I can't really include all of them here. Otherwise, this video would be bloody long and my voice would hurt so badly. So now I guess we can move on to talk about this new genre on Goodreads, Booktok Fantasy. What a genre it is. I just had a quick scroll on this list. What I can see a lot on this list already is plenty of Sarah J. Maas, whole series of Throne of Glass, whole series of Akota, as well as book 1 of The Crescent City. I think it is very safe to say so. Booktok loves Sarah J. Maas and romantasy. Without a doubt, Sarah J. Maas is the queen of this genre. It is not just about romance, but how she blends in the world building of fantasy to this genre to merge these two together, which, to be honest, is quite impressive. I couldn't comment on Akota because this is a series that I haven't read it yet, but Throne of Glass is a very popular YA romantasy that follows the journey of Aileen, and with her companions try to stop the evil force from rising. Crescent City is more steamy because it is an adult romantasy, and there are plenty of spicy moments. I did enjoy reading the first book of The Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood, because of the character growth. Crescent City Book 2, a bit average because I think Sarah J. Maas wastes such an opportunity to develop the side character, and there was not much going on really in this book, and because of this I am kind of hesitated to start the book 3, and I have heard a lot of people saying it is not the best ending basically. Still, I think what she has done with fantasy and romance, blend them together, is solid. Another very popular romantasy on Booktok is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. What a hype book it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I remember everyone was talking about it. Even if you are not into romantasy, people will still go and check it out, but I think the review itself is quite mixed. What I can remember from this chaos is possibly it is about a love story between dragons and they had sex. And as a fantasy book, I don't see many people praising it. I couldn't say any more here because obviously I haven't read this series yet, and it is definitely not going to be on my TBR because I am so late to the party. If I need to pick a book that I have already finished and that is also on Booktok Sensation, we have The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. It was my favorite fantasy series until I met Greenbone Saga. I think most of you would have come across with this trilogy before, but if you haven't, The Poppy War is a Chinese-inspired historical fantasy that is inspired by the historical period called the Qing Dynasty. We will follow Rin from an orphan trying so hard to study in a war academy, and later drawn into a larger-scale warfare and local conflicts. What I do like about this trilogy is how R.F. Kuang take a historical period and turn it into a fantasy world that works. The plot itself is problematic and heartbreaking, and it shows you how much I love a problematic story. The other and also the last series that I have read from this Booktok Sensation is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I think you can still say this book is a standalone because the plot wrapped up by the end of the book, even though there is a prequel before it called A Date of Wonder Night. And we know that there is also a new book coming between the prequel and the Priory of the Orange Tree, which gonna release in September this year, right? But still, I would say this one is a standalone and you can jump into this one without reading the prequel. So this one I don't think is a romantasy and definitely not an Asian-inspired fantasy. I forgot what this world is called, but basically it is about the West and the East divided by culture or religion need to come together and prevent the nameless one from rising. I would say in terms of the world building, everything packed in a standalone is quite impressive already. There will also be some actions and of course romance. I just remember the epic battle I had been anticipating was wrapped up rather quickly, which is a thing I didn't like, but otherwise it is still quite a solid book. I don't think I have read any more from this Booktok Sensation, Booktok Fantasy, so what I will do is to go through the list rather quickly to see if there's any interesting one. First of all, I have Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I remember a couple of years ago, it was really popular and I could see it in every bookshop. I think this one is a YA romantasy, but to be honest, I am a bit surprised to see some of these books here. It makes sense to see The Fourth Wing here because it was a hype book not too long ago, 2 or 3 years ago, and it was on every social media platform. I was a bit shocked to see Cruel Prince, The Poppy War, and The Priory of the Orange Tree here because they were released quite some time ago, maybe even before 2020. I don't think around that time TikTok or Booktok was viral or popular already because I remember it gets the popularity maybe during the pandemic rather before it. It makes sense to see all the Sarah J Maas books here because once you jump into this rabbit hole, you would definitely check out all the works by her. But why like these older titles like Poppy War? Why are you here? Or is it just like my list is wrong? I finally see a book that I may want to read, which is The Invisible Life of Eddie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. It is an author that I have heard a lot, but I haven't read anything by her yet. Other than the very popular YA fantasy series, The Darker Shade of Magic and its universe, there are also other very well-known works that I want to explore. This book very obviously is about the life of Eddie, whose existence will be easily forgot by people until one day she met someone in a bookshop. It sounds quite sad and emotional already, so one day I would like to read it. The rest I have books like Powerless by Lauren Roberts, which I think some of you want to check this book out. I think it is described as Hunger Games but in a romantasy genre. I know it is like a viral book because I remember seeing this book everywhere, even on Booktube. Also The Arthur 6 by Olivia Blake. I saw it before when dark academia was such like a popular genre or popular lifestyle. I am actually quite shocked to see the rating of this book is only 3.5 stars on Goodreads because it is a hyped book on social media, but the rating itself doesn't look great, doesn't translate this popularity. I haven't read this book yet, so if you know why this book is like average, do share your thoughts in the comment below. So now we have gone through all the popular books on Booktube and Booktok. We can see some obvious difference between these two platforms already. I think first of all, the books recommended on Booktube very obviously is on the classic side, like The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien or maybe The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. They are not all written recently, if you know what I mean. While high books on Booktok you can easily find, they are all new release, at least during that period of time. I guess it is quite understandable. Instead of seeing the same old books or same old fantasy series recommended to you, you would definitely want something new every time. I'm not too sure how Booktok works because like I said, I don't have an account. But for every algorithm, I believe that if you share your thoughts in a video about a getting hyped book, you would definitely easily gain some more traffic than usual. I think this can also explain Booktok Sensation, something that you can easily see in every bookshop nowadays, a dedicated place for all these hype books on Booktok obviously. You can say it as like what readers express on social media got translated into a physical bookshop. But also on the other side, you can say you don't know what the standard is from this Booktok Sensation. It is just so easy for one to upload a short video to share your thoughts about one or maybe more books. And because it is a short video, usually less than a minute, because you want to grab the attention of potential viewers, you have to be precise and you need to have those punchlines written well. So I guess in a sense, it is so easy to promote a book in 1 or 2 sentences. The more readers doing it, the more viral those books will get. But majority of us sharing our thoughts on any social media are just treating reading as a hobby or read for fun. We are never meant to be a super critical book critic. So here also raise a question where the standard is. Looking across all these Booktok sensations like Other Six only got 3.5 stars on Goodreads, and I mean it is such an average rating. But it was trendy, viral at some point, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. You can see this cover everywhere. So I guess what we can say here is Booktok sensation, Booktok recommendation is not necessarily good. Also from these two lists of books, we can draw other conclusions. Other than Booktok books being new release, they are leaning towards the romantic side, and there is only a few of epic fantasy. Then on Booktube, we have plenty of classic epic fantasy series, but never romantasy. So from here, we can see the demographics of readers on these two platforms are actually quite different. I don't really want to put a generalization like this, but I hope it is safe to say that majority of the user of Booktok is female, because I don't really see much male readers love romantasy, if you know what I mean. This is also what I want to say about Booktok Sensation. With a very similar demographic of users, the books that are going to be viral, that are going to be hyped on there, would definitely easily fall into the same category, which is romantasy. But never mind about Booktube. I mean, have you ever come across with Booktube Sensation in any physical bookshop? And I do think that we have a more variety of different readers on Booktube. Maybe I haven't explored much about Booktok yet. I just feel like at least for sci-fi and fantasy, there are different kind of readers on Booktube, but on Booktok, it's quite limited in a sense. So these are pretty much of this Booktube versus Booktok recommendation. To me, I do prefer Booktube slightly more because I can see some more variety here compared to Booktok. And how about you? Do you prefer looking for recommendation on Booktube or Booktok? Or you do prefer going to a physical bookshop yourself? You can share all your thoughts down in the comment below. So if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to my channel Fantasy so you won't miss anything from me. I'll see you all real soon. Goodbye.